it's Crystal with Every Tiny Victory. Just wanted to give you a quick update on my meal planning for today and share some thoughts about what I'm learning as I continue my meal planning process. Things have been a little bit different now that I have a dietitian to kind of run some things by and, discuss some things that I'm trying to improve. So just wanted to shed some light on that and share with you my process and share some pictures. If you're new here, my name is Crystal. I'm a 40-something-year-old woman living in Houston, Texas, and I'm on a journey to reclaim my health after receiving a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes in December of 2023. I've been wanting to put together, a number of different videos. I actually have a series on Mounjaro, the medication that I've been using since January of 2024 to help me with controlling my blood sugar and helping me get my weight under control. And so I've completed part 1 of that, and I'll be updating part 2 this week. The other thing that I wanted to share about was the process that I've been kind of going through with the dietitian that I've been working with. I shared that I had been, doing some consultations with dietitians and trying to find somebody that would be willing to work with me on ketogenic nutrition therapy. Unfortunately, that is just an area of dietetics that is very, specialized. Not a whole lot of people do that kind of nutrition. I did meet with 4 dietitians through consultations, online. Actually, I think 3 of them were online. 1 was through the phone. Everybody pretty much takes a holistic approach, and so they want you to have all the things, including carbs, depending on how strict keto you do. 25 grams of carbs or less a day. I know there are some folks out there that do like a really strict extreme keto, so they're like closer to like 5 grams to 10 grams or something a day. So I just have not found anybody that is able to work with me on that. I was, pretty close to giving up on trying to find assistance with a registered dietitian, even though my insurance covers that specialty. I know that I'm very fortunate to have insurance coverage, first and foremost, but second of all, that is a benefit of my insurance. One of the social media people that I follow, she mentioned that she found a dietitian through this app called Nourish. So I just thought, okay, I'll give it a try and see what happens. So I did, submit the inquiry form, I think is kind of what you have to do, to tell them a little bit about yourself, and then they verify insurance and things like that. I got to see the different providers or the dietitians and like read a profile, check their credentials and that kind of thing, and see what their basically like their dietetic philosophy is, I guess. And so the person that I picked seemed to have a little bit more training with the diabetes and I think hers also said like renal diseases and metabolic disorders like PCOS and things like that. So out of all the providers that were out there, there were several that were on the list that I thought I would, check out. But the one that I went with, we set up our initial consultation and she just made me feel very comfortable. We had a good conversation over that, it's an hour time frame that you get to meet with the practitioner, the dietitian. First time we met, she didn't make any suggestions. She just said, I want you to log your food in the app. So there's an app where you can post pictures, and it even asks some questions about like your mood, how you're feeling, are you hungry, those kinds of things. She just wanted me for that first 2 weeks to just log my food, and very detailed, like what you're eating. But I've been logging my food daily for the past, since January of 2024. And that's one of the things I think that I'm most proud of in this, process of learning how to manage my diabetes. Because I think that's one of the harder things, is that you forget to put things in, forget to write things down. And then if you're like me, I review my, the data from my continuous glucose monitor, and I can see a spike, and I can determine, okay, it was because I ate that food, 2 hours ago, I'm still on a sustained high, or my sugar spiked really high, but it came immediately down within those 2 hours. And so, the meal wasn't as bad as I thought it might be. But I track everything. So she had a lot of good data to go from the next time we met, which was, 2 weeks later. We've since been meeting about every 2 weeks. So I believe I've had 4, if not 5 meetings with her so far. She's made some really good like observations, just, looking over the meals and pictures that I'm logging. I mentioned to her that I was feeling that like heavy feeling at the top of my stomach, like at the bottom of my breastbone, but at the top of my, stomach. And she was like, it's not uncommon with people on that medication that you're on to have issues with, not getting enough fiber in their diet. I didn't quite understand how that could impact like the immediate feeling of not like having that heavy feeling whenever I eat something, but she was right. So just incorporating a little bit of I have a daily fiber supplement that I take. It's a gummy, sugar-free, tastes great, and I don't forget to take it, which is great. But she also suggested like ways to incorporate more fiber throughout my day. And so I've been doing that, and thanks be to God, the bowel movements and things like that have come back regularly, and I'm not feeling that weird, feeling at the top of my stomach, like I'm not feeling that anymore. So that has been good. Just to be able to talk through some of those things with somebody that can give a little bit more like advice, but also explain why you may be feeling so, or why you may be seeing this result in your CGM. So that has been really cool. I've been working with her, but for sure over the past year and some months, I did not know, like I will just be 100% honest. I did not know like true actual serving sizes. I've just started, I guess, calculating per meal, calories, fat, sodium, carbs, sugar, fiber, protein. I feel like there's one other thing, but I have had an aversion to eggs since I was a kid. I had a bad experience as a kid that just left me with a bad taste of eggs, the texture, the smell, all the things. And in my like late 30s, I would say, I started trying to reintroduce them because I know they're a good source of protein and other helpful things. One of the things that I really enjoy are like vegetables. So my good friends Marlon and Sandra have been giving me, I guess, like some cooking classes, you could say. And one of the things that I like making is a veggie scramble. So I'll chop up some like onions and bell peppers, and I've added spinach to my veggie scramble. And I add cheese sometimes if I have bacon or sausage or something like that, ham maybe, that goes in the scramble. I just thought, I guess maybe, that I needed to have more like quantity. In the past, before I got on the medication, I always went for quantity. So if you would offer me a regular size something or a large size something, I'm always going to pick the large. I just default to the larger size. And so when I'm making my breakfast and stuff, I hadn't been keeping in mind, I guess, like what a regular serving size is. I assumed that a cup of vegetables, with 3 eggs doesn't sound crazy. But when I look at the volume of food versus what my stomach can handle now, if I continue overeating, I do feel queasy, like I get that full feeling. And then when I start adding up the nutrition of all those things, if I'm adding in bacon, I'm adding in cheese, I'm adding in, all these different vegetables, it's not the vegetables that are the issue, but it's all the other stuff. And so when I look at volume plus the extra stuff, I'm getting not, I guess, a balanced diet. It's heavier on some things like sodium or fat, or low on fiber, so there's some things that I could tweak. And so those are the things that my dietitian has been helping me to recognize, portion sizes, and then learning how to tweak some things to make a balanced meal. So I wanted to show you some pictures of my day today. some of the meal preps and stuff that I did. I normally will have a veggie, like a veggie scramble or something with an egg in it, like some kind of an egg or a taco, breakfast taco, for example. And I really, really love flour tortillas, but they spike my blood sugar. And I need to understand that I can't, I guess it depends like what I'm willing to give up in order to have the tortilla. My dietitian suggested a different tortilla because I let her know, you know, we're an HEB household through and through. And so basically all the products I get are the HEB store brand. And so instead of the regular flour tortilla, she suggested I get this one that was, it's called Pro Keto tortilla. You know, she was saying in the context of my diabetes, if I'm, you know, trying to get a balanced meal to limit the glucose response, then that tortilla is going to be better than the flour tortilla because it has more protein. They've added, they have different starches than just regular flour, but they also have added things like pea protein. So the little green, you know, vegetables that come in a little pod, they basically, like, I guess, like dehydrate them and pulverize them and turn them into flour and add that into the tortillas. You can't taste it, but it does make the texture a little bit different. So they're a little like thicker and I would say grainier maybe. The purpose is there, the vehicle to get the food in your mouth if you're, you know, wanting a breakfast taco, or even the taste. I would say the taste is a lot more similar than those. I've seen them like Carb Extreme or the Mission. I think they're like Carb Sense tortillas and stuff like that. Those, I just don't care for the taste of them. And it is also, I think, something about the texture. So just making that one swap allowed me to keep my breakfast taco and keep my glucose steady without that huge spike that I would see if I had a regular HEB flour tortilla. It's been really helpful to have her kind of explain like why this would be a better swap if I wanted to keep that breakfast taco on my menu. We are looking for, you know, calories and carbs and, you know, all the other things, protein, whatever. We want to see that blood sugar stable throughout the day. It makes me emotional because I've had this glucose monitor, the continuous glucose monitor. I'll show you here. I alternate arms every, you know, 2 weeks when it basically it expires after 14 or 15 days, and then you replace it with a new one, and then it starts your 2-week clock again. So I alternate arms, but I have this data going back from January of 2024. And when I first started, I was making, like, I didn't know what I was doing, right? And I would eat something and my glucose would shoot through the roof. Like I had readings between 200 and 300. And it makes a lot of sense now as I've learned, like I've educated myself a little bit more and I know what I'm looking for, you know, with regards at least to the diabetes, the glucose response and how it makes me feel, what it's doing to my body. And I mean, in the beginning, I just didn't know. I was super scared, because it's scary. It's a scary disease. But realizing like the things that we put into our bodies, right? I mean, it makes sense, but, if you really don't know, then it's all like just theoretical stuff, right? And so for me, I'm a data person. I like to read facts and investigate things. And so I could literally see when I ate, you know, a hamburger and fries from this particular place, my glucose, you know, shot up through the roof and stayed high over several hours. But when I ate a burger and fries from this place, you know, same size, same toppings, all that kind of stuff, I didn't have the same response. And then, you know, so it may have shot up, but it came down within the 2 hours, you know, 2-hour time frame. And so you can see that on an actual graph. And so it's crazy to think like the way that, you know, your body is giving off all these signals and things. the same literal thing, right? Like a hamburger and fries. The two things are not the same depending on where you get them from, what ingredients they have, what they cook their food in, like, you know, the type of oil, you know, seasonings, all that kind of stuff. It's just given me so much more like information to make a decision about my nutrition on the day to day. One of the things that I'm most proud of that I've figured out how to do is keep my blood sugar steady. And I feel like it has empowered me to make decisions that will be better for me in a way that I didn't understand the correlation between, you know, the food that I'm intaking, that I'm eating and drinking, to the things that are happening in my body that should naturally be happening, but that weren't happening because of the way that I was treating my body. I would say over the past year, my blood sugar was always hovering around between 100 to 125, which is, you know, my doctor said was, you know, well within the range that I needed to be. He recommended I should try to keep my blood sugar less than 150. So we want to limit spikes to 150 or less. And then normal, like, blood sugar, you should be around, you know, 100 or so, he said would be a good goal for me. So all of last year, basically, I wasn't able to get my blood sugar down to that level and remain at that level throughout the day. And since, you know, since I've been working with my dietitian, that is one of the things that I've noticed is that I'm seeing normal readings like in the 90s to the like low 100s. So I've got maybe a 20, you know, point range, but it's much lower than it was all of last year when I was just experimenting on myself, right? So just a few tweaks that, you know, my dietitian has suggested has been able to help me get that under control. And I'm really excited to see what that means for my A1C, which I'll be taking my blood test again. I think it'll be in August or September. I heard somebody today refer to type 2 diabetes as the lifestyle disease. There are other countries that experience type 2 diabetes, but they're mainly developed countries, not where people experience scarcity. And in those countries, you know, developing countries where they see a lot of people with type 2 diabetes, they are, there's, you know, a lack of nutritious food. So the foods that they're eating are more processed and sugary and things like that. There are, I guess, indications that it being a lifestyle disease really is a truism that does happen more often in developed countries because we have an abundance of everything. You know, as children, we eat whatever our parents are giving us, right? And but once we are out of our household and providing for ourselves and things, we're the owners of that decision, right? And I've not been treating myself well for a long time. There's a lot of other factors that play into, I guess, or that lead to a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes. But there are indicators that I had and that I didn't know that I had. I don't think that anybody had ever like said, hey, this is something that you need. This is something concerning. You need to get this checked out. And I want to talk also about my diabetes diagnosis story, you know, at some point in the future, but because I also feel like it was a lesson in advocacy, like self-advocacy for myself, because I didn't push hard enough, I think, to ask for the education. I guess what I want to leave you with is that, you know, it's never too late to learn something new. It's never too late to be bad at something so that you can get good at it. The things that I'm trying to do are to change the lifestyle that I have been living. because if type 2 diabetes is a lifestyle disease, then it is my responsibility to change that. And if not, I'm the one that is putting myself in that in harm's way. So I want to do everything that I can to stay out of the danger zone with my diabetes, and I want to help educate other people because maybe you have some of the same symptoms and things like that I had that I didn't know were diabetes related, or maybe you are feeling some of the same frustrations and things that I was feeling with not being able to lose weight, not being able to have a regular menstrual cycle. That's PCOS, but also endocrine related hormone issues, all related, connected to diabetes. So I just want to share as much as I can as I'm learning it. And today's lesson or learning thing of the week was, with my meal planning and portion sizes. And now that I've had the assistance of the medication, I've been on Mounjaro since January of 2024, and I've lost, 35 pounds over 2024. This year, actually this week, I've lost an additional, I think it was 3.5 pounds, which is amazing. It's finally starting to get moving again. But I've got, something like another 125 maybe pounds to go. Maybe 150. I'll have to look at the numbers again. But I want to be transparent in my journey because I feel like a lot of people don't know where to start either. And that's where I was in January of 2024. It's all connected with my diagnosis story. And so I kind of want to tell things in the order that they happened. But I had to have that really terrible health experiences before I finally received a wake-up call. And it's been a journey, like learning about myself, learning how all of these things are all connected. And when you don't take care of yourself, that one thing leads to another in a not great way, and things can spiral out of control really quickly. And the best way to prepare, for a long, healthy life is to do it now, just to do it now. I have some goals that I wanted to achieve for this month of July, and I have started rebounding. Rebounding is jumping on the, mini trampoline. And so keeping active by walking 3 days a week and jumping on my rebounder 3 days a week and giving myself 1 day of rest. I think at the end of July, I'll be starting my 5K training. And I'm going to be following a Couch to 5K program so that I can do a 5K in November. And I think I have found a 5K here in the Houston area. Unfortunately, I thought I'd be able to go home. And I may be able to over Thanksgiving, but I've got a really busy fall semester ahead, particularly in October. And I wanted to try to do a race around my birthday or October, but I think it just for my, for my sanity, for my workload and things going on at work, I just need to push it back to November when I have a little bit more time. And that'll give me a little bit longer time to make sure that I have my base built up over July, so that I can start my actual training August 1st, and then have a race, target race or goal race to shoot for in November. So with that, I'm gonna, end today's video. I just wanted to share some thoughts about my meal planning, and I'll insert some pictures and stuff just to kind of show you what I'm eating this week. And it's been a heavy week, at least for me. I don't know about for you, but I needed to step away from social media for a bit. And I hope that you are taking the time that you need to keep yourself healthy in body, mind, and spirit, and that you have a great week. I just want you to know that I love you. Thank you for being here with me and supporting me on my journey. And I hope you have a great week ahead. See you later. Love you. Bye.